and its culture. Nigeria is a third world country which faces corruption, poverty, waste management issues, and pollution. But through the diamond in the rough, Nigeria is a breadbasket of culture, tradition, diverse food, festivals, and celebrations. To illustrate how Nigeria has been so diverse in culture, as well as it has affected Nigeria, we'll start with some history of Nigeria. As you can see, this map is the big part of Nigeria, and this is the population of Nigeria. The southern part being more civilized by people, which contributed to some of the poverty and the pollution. Nigeria won its independence in October 1960 from Great Britain, otherwise known as the United Kingdom, and it was now controlled by several different parties. There was a struggle between the Northerners, which were called the Harsa, the Easterners, the Igbo, and the Westerners, the Yoruba. The three parties could not agree on anything, so there was a lot of government corruption. When Nigeria discovered oil, it became very reliant on it because oil was such a scarce resource, and it made Nigeria very wealthy. But because of all the government and military corruption that it faced, they never used any of the money to help Nigeria. Instead, the government officials just lined their pockets full of money. Now, some people called the Ija, which were the Southerners, the people that were very poor and they didn't live in the big city, they got angry because of the corruption, and they started to attack the oil wells and refinery. S.J. Moglen, the author of the Emirates of Northern Nigeria, said the Ija began attacks on the oil drills and processing facilities, which caused the government to use military intervention. And basically, what that did was the government had to shut down the oil wells, which caused Nigeria to be very poor because they were only reliant on oil, because that was basically the only thing that they had. The government also ignored the problems of poverty, pollution, waste management, and just the general standard of living, because they didn't care about the people. They only cared about making themselves rich. Now that you understand some of the problems that Nigeria faces and still faces today, let's talk about some traditions and how the people have lived through it. If you don't live in one of the big cities in Nigeria, then it's a completely different way of life. Nigerian transportation in small cities consists of horses and donkeys that wear different holsters for carrying food and anything that they need to carry from point A to point B. And it's just a very different way of life because it's a very rural, deserted wasteland. There are very many different sports in Nigeria. Two of the more popular ones are football and basketball. They are both watched and played very religiously, and the two teams that I have pictured there do decently well in their respective conferences. Festivals are a big part of traditions in Nigeria. Two festivals I'd like to touch on are the Yam Festival, which is everyone tributes yams as well as small animals to the gods for good luck and good fortune and rain. And the other celebration I'd like to touch on is the Calabar Carnival. It's a huge celebration where over 2 million people dress up, and it's basically a big city, like rural city area convention where they have about 50 to 100 different bands competing in a band competition. And it's one of the biggest festivals in Nigeria because everyone takes their own part in it. Nigerian foods are based off of the ethnic groups. Each ethnic group has its own special, spices, and it determines if the dish is either sweeter, or spicier. Nigeria uses a lot of rice-based dishes. Up in the corner, I have a picture of jollof rice. The person I interviewed, his name was Keiji. He said he eats at least one plate of jollof rice a day, and it is rice that is mixed with spices and is somewhat spicy. And this is one of the base foods that everyone in Nigeria eats at least once a day because it's just the basic dish. Now, along with the rice, their meat is mixed a lot of the time with rice. There are two types of meat that are kind of special to Nigeria. One is called suya. It's a meat kebab that is coated with spices. It's one of the most common things in Nigeria, and it is one of the spiciest. The other type of meat is balagan, which is sheep or lamb, which is grilled over a wood fire. There are no spices or anything added to it because it presents such a unique flavor to the lamb. It's because lamb is a very unique animal in Nigerian culture. Nigeria also has a lot of traditions, and religion is a very big part of Nigerian life. Some traditions that Katie told me about were kids are supposed to prostrate in front of people that are older than them as a sign of respect, and men are allowed to have multiple wives. Jim Ibram, the author of Politics of Religion in Nigeria, said, the Igbo people also sacrifice animals as well as eat yams to ward off bad spirits and to please their gods. And in return, they hope the gods will grant them a good harvest and rain and just help them to live a prosperous life. Nigeria is very unique in its customs, traditions, foods, and way of life. As a result, it is amazing to see so much different culture in one place. Nigeria is very culturally diverse. It's a very different way of life from the United States, and its unique traditions, different festivals, and way of life all contribute to how the people suffer, or how the people live through the poverty, devastation, and loss that they've heard from the government. Thank you.